Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing something a little bit different around here. There are no intros, we are just straight shoutcasts and battles from my friend and fellow content creator King GBL. If you're wondering why the video looks super clean, unlike my usual potato standard of uploads, that is because he's put everything together and he just said, buddy, do some shoutcast and upload. So here we are. Today's team looks like an ABC team. Not really something I run too often. I'm a pretty basic bitch. I like to run ABB. Well, that being said, let's try and catch up. We got Quagsire aligned into Skeledirge. We're able to force ourselves an early shield advantage. And when Typhlosion has a shield advantage, this thing absolutely pops off. Speaking of which, of course, using a Shadow Incinerate user, or any Incinerate user for that matter, you always get one turn bring in currently. Niantic/Scopely, fix your game. As always, we've gone off on a mad tangent, and we've already missed the first boom. We're going for a combo play here. Not entirely sure why we're going for the single resisted Psyshock as opposed to the neutral Weather Ball. I guess it's a bit of bad manners as King knows this game is signed, sealed, and delivered. Typhlosion gets that Incinerate farm down, leaving with the Blast Burn. Skeledirge might resist fire, but have no doubt that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Judging by the pop-up message between the two battles, probably King misclicked. Probably forgot what side the move's on. That is definitely a skill he's acquired from hanging around with me too much, as I'm the biggest potato of them all. In the next battle, we see Ninetales into the Quagman. King dares the opponent to full send the Stone Edge, and thankfully it's just the Aquatail bait. Alolan Ninetales and the Quagman do pace at the same speed to the Weather Ball and Aquatail respectively. However, Ninetales does have the higher attack, so in the one shield scenario, which looks like King is opting to play out, Ninetales will be emerging victorious. The opponent recognise they're going to lose CMP and make a very nice catch, or so they'd think onto Tinkaton, and here comes Shadow Typhlosion. The Incinerate damage is absolutely disgusting. Almost all Tinkaton in this format do run Bulldoze, but one Bulldoze simply will not get the job done. Typhlosion able to tank the damage, fully Incinerate farm down, and if Quagsire does return, we're also going to win CMP. The opponent takes the extra Mud Shot, potentially meaning they're going to shield. They do not. Down goes Quagsire. Out comes Chestnut. Oh boy, poor old Chestnut. Going to invest that Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Blast Burn, and we send back out Ninetales. Can the opponent Vine Whip farm us down before we reach the Weather Ball? No, they cannot. The opponent recognise the game's over, and they are going to concede the match. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see a battle of fairy types, but very favourable for King, as our sub-ice typing is going to hit the opponent's sub-grass typing for super effective. The opponent stays in, looking to fire off the Seed Bomb. King recognising the opponent staying in such a poor matchup, must have something else, doesn't want to see Ninetales in the back. Out comes Swampert, we fire off the Weather Ball. King able to outpace the second Weather Ball, and the opponent already finds himself in a very tricky spot. They invest that Protect Shield back. Ninetales could just shield and is just going to continually outpace. Long gone are the days of Swampert's 5-4 pacing. They're now straight 5s to the Hydro Cannon and Sludge respectively. The opponent plays out the one shield scenario, send out Corviknight. In a situation like this, I just stay in, allow the opponent to take out Ninetales, send Quagsire onto Corviknight, and of course, just let Typhlosion cook everything. The opponent doesn't know it yet, but trust me, this game is over. We send out the Quagman, the opponent pivots into Whimsicott, and here comes Typhlosion. Unless the opponent's running Hurricane, which I highly doubt, any one move is survivable. Although in fairness, that Moonblast did do a lot. Back out comes Corviknight. We fire off the Thunder Punch. Can the opponent Sand Attack farm down before the next one's reached? No, they cannot. This Sand Attack damage from Corviknight, absolutely pitiful, and Typhlosion cleans up. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Alolan Ninetales into Corviknight. A neutral matchup. Or actually, they're on Steel Wing. A lot of people have switched over to Steel Wing, probably because, as I mentioned in the previous battle, Sand Attack does like negative damage. King full sends the Stone Edge, forcing us an early shield advantage. The opponent fire back with a Payback. Payback does hit hard, but the opponent's going to have a near impossible task of trying to Steel Wing farm down our Mudboi. King again YOLOs the Stone Edge. Stone Edge this time goes unshielded. The opponent's still trying to Steel Wing farm down. The super happy, super spammy Quagman fires off the Aquatail, and down goes Corviknight. The opponent sends out their own Shadow Typhlosion for one Incinerate running start, and we enter the mirror. It looks like King actually didn't get one turn bring in here. I hope that's CMP. I could be wrong. This is 2x speed. It's kind of hard to tell. Wow. King actually didn't get one turn bring in. Use an Incinerate user. Madness. What's the secret, buddy? King actually lives over in Japan, so perhaps it's their super high speed internet. The opponent stays in. Get fully Incinerated farm down. Out comes Dugong, and we all know how this one ends. First Blast Burn rocks the opponent. Below half health, the opponent tries to Ice Shard farm down. Typhlosion says no, reaches the next Blast Burn, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, We see Alolan Ninetales into Swampert. The Mudshot rework kind of makes Ninetales favourable in this matchup, especially if you're willing to invest shield. Swampert now takes a straight 5 quick moves to each of their Hydro Cannons or Sludge respectively, whereas we alternate between 5 and 4. Back when Swampert had the same pacing as Ninetales, it was always a win for them, as Swampert does beat Ninetales in the charge attack priority. It looks like with the new tech of Sludge, they can still win this in the one shield matchup. Sludge actually isn't lethal, but the opponent is able to Mudshot farm down afterwards. King gonna send out the Quagman, look for a Mudshot farm down of his own. He tanks the Hydro Cannon, we actually see the aggressive pivot into Typhlosion. The opponent saves Swampert on fractional HP, and out comes this little lizard. What's this thing called? Kecleon? Cacleon? I don't know. I don't really care either, to be honest, because it's going to find itself straight in and straight out. We're at the double Thunder Punch. The opponent tanks the first, keeping that shield intact. If Swampert does return, we will be able to Incinerate farm down. The opponent sends out Tinkaton. King going for a risky Thunder Punch bait. Thunder Punch, force the final protection. We go for the wham, bam, combo play, pivot into Quagsire. Fire off the Aquatail. Aquatail rocks the opponent below the half health range. King going to be getting removed from the field of play if they full send a player off, which they do. Lose con for us is the opponent making the catch. They try it unsuccessfully. King leaves with a blast burn. High Tinkaton, bye Tinkaton, and we're going to move swiftly on. GG's. Today is going to be a very, very rare double upload, but don't expect that sort of pace to continue. I just happen to be on a day off with nothing really to do. Heading into the next battle is the Alolan Ninetales into Dust Noir. King shows a very good fast move timing, throwing 7 Powder Snows and the Weather Ball. Weather Ball goes unshielded. The opponent actually thrown alignment here, giving us a free Powder Snow, which we're certainly appreciative of. As we snuck, we're able to go for the correct 1 Powder Snow and the next Weather Ball and force our Protect Shield back. If you are a Dust Noir user, Dynamic Punch, despite not getting same type attack bonus, it does do more than a Shadow Punch and is also better DPE. The opponent just went for the Shadow Punch, then sent out Steelix. We bank our energy and Quagsire enters the arena. It's kind of funny that Quagsire is probably our soft counter for this Steelix. While Mudshots are super effective, trust me, Steelix does not tank Incinerates well whatsoever. We fire off the first Aquatail, which goes unshielded. Quagsire fires off the next one. Down goes Steelix, and out comes the Jellyfish. The opponent makes a very heads-up play, firing off the Surf immediately before Quagsire potentially reaches the Stone Edge. Down goes the Quagman. Typhlosion might be a Fire type, but in the Great League, a Shadow Thunder Punch does a lot of damage. King sends out Typhlosion. Of course, we're going to need to shield up the Surf, as Surf cleanly one-shots in the Great League format. King undertaps the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch goes unshielded. Trainer, what are you doing? I have no idea. We end up Powder Snow farming down, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Alolan Ninetales into Corviknight. The Sand attacks aren't doing much, but Ironhead will do a lot of damage. King attempts to catch the Ironhead onto Quagsire unsuccessfully, and out comes Dugong. I never really bait, but I think this is definitely a scenario where you can throw the Aquatail, because as I was thinking, Dugong users always shield the first move. The reason for that is they're just going to fire off an Icy Wind, lowering our attack, meaning subsequent attacks after the first one will do less. King full sends the next Stone Edge, even debuffed. Oof, that does a lot. King could have fired off the Aquatail, but he intentionally does not throw. He wants to get energy rather than give the opponent energy. We send out Typhlosion. Typhlosion gets a 2 Incinerate, running start. Out comes Primate. We go straight for the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch does half the health, and we see the pivot back into Ninetales. The opponent pivots back out into Corviknight. Corviknight going to be greeted with the Weather Ball. Weather Ball almost secures the knockout. I'd just say both shields for Typhlosion, as King's doing, and this game's over. You can just tap his phone like a raving lunatic, and this game should be signed, sealed, and delivered. The opponent reached 1 departing charge move. Back out comes Primate. Primate's going to need to reach 2 moves. Can they do it? I already know the answer to that question is no, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Alolan Ninetales. Oh god, into Carbink. Awful lead, and we're ABA weak as well, so King's kind of obliged to stay in and just try and do as much damage as he physically can. Nice to see it on Ninetales as opposed to Typhlosion. Ninetales trying to make the best of a dire situation, just going to spam out these Weather Balls as quickly as possible. Can Ninetales reach the third before we're rock thrown farm down? Unfortunately we cannot. We send out Quagsire. The opponent recognising we must be ABA weak, pivot into Amoonguss. King invests a Protect Shield, blocking up the foul play. King fires off 1 Incinerate and the Thunder Punch. The Thunder Punch won't be lethal, but will enable a farm down afterwards. King does leave with the Thunder Punch, but unfortunately Carbink is outside of Thunder Punch range. We're actually going to see him shield, blocking up the Power Gem, and then fire off the Thunder Punch. Is this now Thunder Punch range? Always close. We're able to snipe with the Quagman, and out comes Shinotic. King not messing around, full send in the Stone Edge, trying to sneak it through 2 Protect Shield. Stone Edge lands, and the opponent already find himself below half health. Interestingly, the opponent doesn't overfarm. They fire off the Seed Bomb, removing us from the field of play. Typhlosion able to incinerate farm down, and that opponent does the very best impersonation of myself, saving 2 shields for next season, heading into the next battle. We see a huge core breaker in the lead position, Toxapex. We save switch into Typhlosion, which of course also doesn't have a winning matchup. The opponent sends out Greninja. Greninja invests to Protect Shield, fire off the Night Slash, removing us from the field of play. Thankfully, they didn't get a boost. We send out Ninetales, but on this moveset with no Dazzling Gleam, I don't think a Weather Ball will even be lethal. I think this is going to do around 35-40%, but they will survive. The opponent does survive. King actually going to double shield here and look for the Powder Snow farm down, while Ninetales into Toxapex is dreadful. With an energy lead, it is somewhat playable, as Psyshock will in turn hit back for super effective. Out comes Toxapex, we fire off the Psyshock, see the pivot into the Quagman, and out comes Diggersby. Quagsire into Diggersby isn't anywhere near as dominant as you'd expect. Despite us being able to hit for super effective, them only hitting for neutral. In even energy, the opponent is able to win this in the 0 shield matchup. The opponent's still hanging on to that Protect Shield. King gonna farm up, fire off the next Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail also goes unshielded. King able to trap the opponent into the charge attack priority. Okay, we've got a chance here. In Ninetales, I believe. Can Ninetales outpace Toxapex to back-to-back moves before the Sludge Wave's reached? Back out comes Toxapex. King fires off the Psyshock. Psyshock won't be lethal. It's going to be a race. Come on, Ninetales, get there. That's a CMP type. Is Weather Ball enough? Come on, Ninetales. In Ninetales, I believe. Yes! Down goes the silly nipple. We Powder Snow farm down Diggersby and take that game. I'll be honest, I thought we were doomed, but King pulled off the dub. Heading into the next battle. We see Alolan Ninetales into the Jellyfish. King throws 7 Powder Snows and the charge move. Not only looking to throw at good timing, but also fake potential Dazzling Gleam. The opponent no shield. We catch onto the Quagman. They are going to need to full send a Shadow Ball. As you can see, one surf did around 35%. The opponent does full send the Shadow Ball, and the Quagman completely sacrificed to the Poke Gods. King GBL, buddy. That is no way to treat the best Mudboi in the Great League. We send back out Ninetales, and out comes Sonic the Hedgehog. So in this matchup, Psyshock actually is the correct move to throw, as it's only single resisted, whereas Weather Ball is double resisted. The thought process from King was probably throw the move that would do less damage and get more farm on Typhlosion. However, poor old Sonic only survived 2 Incinerates. Out comes Jellicent. We force the opponent's first Protect Shield with the Thunder Punch. King gonna invest his final Protect Shield. Undertap the Thunder Punch. Switch timers are misaligned. Are we going to go for the snipe? Yes, we are, but the opponent makes a very nice catch, catching onto Lucario. Psyshock does massive damage as Lucario cannot take a hit to save its life. King overfarms, fires off the next Psyshock. Psyshock removes them from the field of play. Back out comes Jellicent. Ninetales still not done. Gonna reach the Weather Ball, and that is going to be all she wrote. Heading into the next battle, we find ourselves a very bait-dependent matchup. The opponent pivots out what I'd call a neutral matchup and send out Claydol, which has a losing matchup here. The opponent probably anticipated us running Charm. Have you always got to stay in and check the quick move on Pokemon like Ninetales that have a flexible moveset? It looks like King are more than happy to stay in here. Potentially, we might look to catch the next Rock Tomb onto Quagsire. King farms up, does exactly that. Catches the Rock Tomb like an absolute savage. The opponent saves Claydol and sends back up the Panda Bear. Looks like King dares the opponent to full send the close combat, and they do. Quagsire gets one shot vanquished, back to its Pokeball. Back out comes Ninetales. Ninetales fires off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and they are going to throw the Night Slash, denying our energy. King saving the final Protect Shield for Typhlosion, and the Panda Bear gets the boost. Typhlosion going to instantly put up that Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Night Slash. The opponent then sends out Corviknight. King overfarms before firing off the Blast Burn. Corviknight straight in and straight out. Back out comes Claydol. King able to reach the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is resisted, but from this range will be lethal. Can the Panda Bear reach one final move? No, it cannot. Typhlosion sweeps the entire team, and we take that game. Picking up a very nice 5-0 as well. Heading into the next battle, we see Alolan Ninetales into Dusknoir. The opponent is running Astonish, meaning they're going to apply more fast move pressure, but be slower to charge moves. The Weather Ball forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. King looks to call the Shadow Punch. The opponent actually falls to the Dynamic Punch off Ninetales, you bulky boy. able to hang on fractional HP, fire off the Weather Ball, getting Dusknoir into the red health range. King sends out Typhlosion, looking for the one shield, full Incinerate farm down. The opponent sends out Primeape. We waste no time, and Quagman enters the arena. Quagsire fires off the Aquatail. Aquatail forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. King dares the opponent to force in the close combat, and they do. Down goes Quagsire, and it's Typhlosion versus the world. Typhlosion very quickly going to give up the final Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Rage Fist, but the opponent unable to reach another charge move. Typhlosion leaves absolutely loaded. Out comes Tinkaton. The opponent tries to make the catch. The catch attempt unsuccessful. The opponent doesn't want that work, and they concede the match. In the next battle, Ninetales into Skeledirge. I would have liked to see King throw one Powder Snow before transferring the Incinerate onto Typhlosion, but I guess I'm just being fussy. Out comes Guzzlord. Blast Burn did not look resisted, and the opponent is going to be forced to throw. The issue King's going to face here is that mid-game matchup was so fast that we are still going to be switch locked when the opponent does return. Another reason why you probably should have thrown the one Powder Snow. I'm just messing with you, buddy. Back out comes Skeledirge. We're going to fire off the Psyshock. Psyshock, to my surprise, forced to Protect Shield, and here comes the Quagman. The opponent pivots out into Ferret. King does have a shield advantage, but Ferret has the potential to one-shot Quagman, as a Trailblaze would be double super effective. King invests that Protect Shield, the opponent bait with the Swift, but that's kind of alright for us, to be honest, as the opponent hasn't raised their own attack, meaning the Sucker Punches still remain at neutral. King still with shield high behind and the decision to make. He's willing to tank the charge. The opponent fire off the Swift. Quagsire looks for the Mudshot farm down, which we're able to get. King pivots out, banking his energy, and Ninetales re-enters the arena. Ninetales going to block up the incoming Torch Song, 2 Powder Snows, and the Psyshock. This likely goes unshielded, as the opponent knows the move from Quagsire will do more. We're unable to farm down. The opponent leaves with the charge move. Huh? Why didn't they throw? So Torch Song's 3, 2, then 2. So no idea why the opponent didn't throw. We're not going to complain. We take that game, and we're going to move on to the next battle. Awful lead, Alolan Ninetales into Magnezone. What a funky team composition from this opponent. ABA Electric. King farm to the Stone Edge, baited with the Aquatail, forcing himself an early shield advantage. The opponent baits with the Discharge. Quagsire not shielding any of that nonsense this time. Stone Edge picks up the knockout. The opponent sends out Corsola once again. King looking to maximise his damage, full sending a Stone Edge. Stone Edge goes unshielded. The opponent looking for that Astonished farm down. Quagsire. People ask why I call it the best Mudboi in the Great League. Look how much work it's put in. King sends out Ninetales to operate as the damage sponge. The opponent going to fire off the Power Gem. We just got to wait for the pivot. The opponent actually going to fire off back-to-back charge moves. And let's count it down now. I think the opponent's going to top left in 3, 2, 1. They don't actually top left, but this game is completely over. The opponent fire off the Mirror Shot bait, but no bait will ever save that opponent's fate. Typhlosion Incinerate farms down everything, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, another Corviknight lead. King gonna fire off the Weather Ball, then likely pivot into Quagsire in an attempted Iron Head catch. We do pivot into Quagman, our catch attempt unsuccessful, but any one move is survivable. The opponent fire off the Sky Attack. King looks to fire off the Aquatail, but the opponent makes a very nice catch on former Meta Kingpin Poliwrath. Oh my days, look at the size of this bloody thing. It looks terrifying. That Poliwrath has been working out. Bro, you need to lay off the gear. Apparently in 2025, Pokemon as well as human beings have discovered performance-enhancing drugs. The opponent goes for the Icy Wind bait. Ninetales withstands the damage, fires off the Psyshock, just looking to move Poliwrath from the field of play. We pivot into Typhlosion, and out comes Primeape. Typhlosion going to be applying massive fast move pressure to the remainder of the team. The opponent fire off the Rage Fist, looking to vamp up their attack, but the Incinerate's far outpacing this Karate Chop damage. King burns both Protect Shields. Back out comes Corviknight. If this is a Sky Attack, it's game over. The opponent just set off with the Iron Head. Typhlosion going to fire off the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch forces the first Protect Shield. We pivot into Ninetales. Ninetales goes straight for the Weather Ball. Weather Ball forces the final Protect Shield. We're able to Powder Snow farm down. Back out comes Primeape. Ninetales Powder Snow farms down Primeape. And we escape with a dub. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Claydol in the lead position. The opponent throw one Mud Slap, then pivot into Ferret. King gonna fire off the Weather Ball and then send out Typhlosion. I wouldn't have disliked just staying in there, as Ninetales does have a positive matchup. The opponent fire off the Swift. King tanks the damage, fires off the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch will be removing them from the field of play, and Claydol is going to come in and get a very nice Mud Slap farm down. Despite Ninetales being advantageous into Claydol, it's not the best matchup when the opponent does have an energy lead. They are going to be able to outpace the Rock Tomb that not only hits are super effective, but also lowers our attack. King, undeterred, shielded up that Rock Tomb. He then returns via the Weather Ball. Weather Ball debuffed, still forced to protect shield. King again attempts the Rock Tomb catch, this time unsuccessfully. The opponent fire off the Shadow Ball. Claydol's essentially 9-6 Love Child. That thing's been buffed like the last 10 seasons in a row and has a whole variety of charge moves. More commonly, you're going to see Ice Beam or Scorching Sands as that second move, but Shadow Ball, I guess, does kind of have some play as well. However, I think the opponent dumping their energy gives King a pretty straightforward path to victory. Just reach double Weather Ball, one to knock out the Thick Bunny and one to knock out Claydol. We shield up the Fire Punch. The opponent makes a very nice catch back onto Claydol, but it's simply too little too late. We're doubled up. The first Weather Ball knocks out Claydol, and the second Weather Ball is going to knock out Thickersby, and that's going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. I think the outcome of that matchup could have been somewhat different if the opponent didn't dump their energy. Heading into the next battle, we see Ninetales into Thickersby. Both trainers throw the charge move as soon as they get it. Weather Ball to Fire Punch. Both are super effective. King going to invest to protect shield, blocking up the first Fire Punch. King pauses a turn, ensuring no catch attempt is made. This Weather Ball will be forcing the opponent's first protect shield, and then we pivot into Quagsire, attempting a Fire Punch catch, but hold their energy and fire off the Scorching Sands before sending out Pidgeot. Big fan of this play. King YOLO in the Stone Edge, recognise the opponent only has one protect shield left. The opponent had two choices, lose Pidgeot or give that final shield up. They opt for the final protect shield. King sends back out Ninetales. Looks to call the Feather Dance, Aerial Ace, or potential Air Cutter bait. The opponent go for the Feather Dance, which is super annoying, meaning potentially double debuff this Weather Ball won't knock out. Weather Ball doesn't knock out, but the opponent is going to dump their energy. King instantly no shield and says, over to you Typhlosion, do your thing. Typhlosion hits the field of play, gets a 1 Incinerate running start. The opponent taking a very long time to send something into the arena. The opponent sends out Togetic, then pivot into Diggersby. King farms up, fires off the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is resisted, but will be secure on the knockout. Back out comes Togetic. King going to burn the final Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Psyshock. He's going to go down the path of double Thunder Punch, probably assuming that one Blast Burn won't be lethal. Would it be? I guess so, but regardless, we're able to emerge victorious. GG's. Blast Burn, of course, is such a ridiculously busted move that a neutral Blast Burn does do more than a super effective Thunder Punch. Heading into the next battle, we see Ninetales into Charger Bug. King lands the Weather Ball and makes a savage catch the discharge onto the Quagman. A single resisted discharge does not do much of anything. The opponent sends out Primeape, don't even farm up to the close combat. The easiest no shield of King GBL's career, tanks the Rage Fist, over farms, fires off the Aquatail, forced to protect shield. The opponent going to fire off the next Rage Fist and look to deny Quagsire's energy. Down goes Quagsire, Ninetales re-enters the arena, goes straight for the Weather Ball. Weather Ball isn't quite lethal. We send out Typhlosion, get a 1 Incinerate running start. The opponent says, no thank you, I'm out of here, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, once again, we see Skeleturge in the lead position. So as I said in the previous battle, to practice good game mechanics, you should throw 1 Powder Snow before pivoting out. The opponent sends out Swampert. They showed no respect to the Blast Burn, and King smells the opportunity to realign. So he's going to invest to Protect Shield, leaving with the Thunder Punch. Back out comes Skeleturge. We fire off the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch forces the opponent's first Protect Shield, and they don't even commit to a farm down either. I think our Typhlosion was definitely in 1 Incinerate range, so potentially the opponent has let us off there. As if they would have farmed down, this energy lead would have been scary. The opponent fire off the Crunch. What a moveset. Torch on Crunch. What do you need Crunch for? I guess it paces quicker than Shadow Ball. Potentially the opponent just having a TM crisis, like a lot of us are. The opponent's final Pokemon is Fortress, so poor old Alolan Ninetales has nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. King opts to align it against Fortress, where at least we're only taking neutral from the Volt switches, as opposed to massive super effective from that Incinerate damage. The opponent full send an Earthquake, then pivot back out into Skeleturge, and this is where the opponent dumping their energy is going to cost them. King fired off the first Aquatail, 2 further Mud Shots, and the next Aquatail. Down goes Skeleturge. Back out comes Fortress. King commits to the Stone Edge just because he can, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's shoutcast of my good friend, my factions teammate, and fellow content creator, King GBL. You can tell from the graphics, evidently puts together a lot better quality videos than me, and can tell from his gameplay he's probably a better battler as well. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you'd like your battles featured on my channel. Link to my battle submission form is down below, and as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.